For many cycles, the galaxy believed one thing to be true. Humans were finished. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, their name was spoken only in the past tense. When new star maps were shown, human space was marked in gray, not red or gold. Gray meant inactive. Gray meant no threat. Gray meant forgotten. New alien races now ruled the stars. They used advanced artificial intelligence to control their fleets. Their ships moved like living creatures, guided by thinking machines faster than any human mind. Their weapons were made of pure energy, bright beams that could melt planets and cut moons in half. Their shields were perfect spheres of light, calculated every second by cold, flawless logic. Compared to them, humans looked small, slow. Young alien officers laughed when they studied human history. They still used metal ships, one said. They still needed human hands to pull triggers, said another. They feared machines that we mastered long ago. To the galaxy, humans were a lesson. A warning of what happens when a species stops evolving. Human victories were now just stories in history books. Old wars, old heroes, old mistakes. And the human fleet? It was called a scrap museum. Orbiting near the edge of human space floated dozens of old warships. Their hulls were dark, scarred and patched many times. Their engines were loud and inefficient. Their weapons ports looked outdated, almost primitive. No glowing energy cannons. No smooth alien curves. Just thick armor, visible bolts, and heavy steel frames. Alien traders passed by and recorded videos. Look at this, they joked. Ancient relics floating in space. Some even suggested turning the fleet into a tourist attraction. But the laughter did not last long. From the core worlds of the Virex Dominion came a message. The Virex were one of the strongest powers in the galaxy. Tall, sharp-eyed, and ruthless, they believed in domination through fear. Their fleets were massive, their ships black and elegant, powered by the most advanced AI ever created. To them, humans were an obstacle. Not a danger. Just something in the way. The Virex Dominion declared that human space now belonged to them. Their message was broadcast across every known channel, translated into thousands of languages. Come. Cold. Final. Surrender, the Virex voice said. Disarm your fleet. Power down your stations. Submit to Virex control. A pause followed. Or be erased. Across the galaxy, beings watched and waited. Most already knew the outcome. Humans could not fight the Virex. Everyone knew that. The Virex fleet arrived at the edge of human territory like a dark storm. Hundreds of ships formed perfect lines. Their shields glowed softly, alive with calculation. Their weapons hummed with stored energy. Against them stood the old human fleet. No glowing shields. No shining energy. Just silent ships drifting in space. Virex commanders laughed openly. Are those ships even operational? One asked. Our scanners show technology older than our first empire, said another. The Virex flagship sent one final transmission. This is your last warning. You have 60 seconds. Inside the human flagship, there was no panic. The bridge was quiet. Human officers stood at their stations, calm and focused. Their uniforms were worn but clean. Their faces showed age, experience, and something else the Virex could not read. Resolve. The human commander did not rush. He did not shout. He looked at the fleet through the main screen. Ships that had fought in forgotten wars, ships that had been repaired more times than counted, ships built not to look beautiful but to survive. He spoke softly. Signal the fleet. A simple order went out. No reply was sent to the Virex. The countdown ended. The galaxy held its breath. Still, the humans did not surrender. Instead, the old human ships began to move. Slowly at first, then with purpose. They shifted position, changing angles and distance. One by one, they aligned themselves into a tight, layered formation. Not random. Not desperate. It was a war formation. Alien sensors lit up with confusion. They are organizing, a Virex officer said. But why? The human fleet completed its movement and went still, facing the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. Old metal ships. Silent guns. No energy shields. And yet they did not retreat. Across the galaxy, laughter faded. Something was wrong. The humans had been given every chance to surrender. They refused. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to wonder if the old human fleet was not a museum after all, but a warning. The Virex Dominion did not understand what they were seeing. Their scanners showed clear results. The human ships were slow. Their engines burned old fuel. Their hulls were thick but heavy. Their weapon signatures were weak, almost harmless. To the Virex, this battle was already over. Prepare to fire, the Virex fleet commander ordered calmly. End this quickly. Across their formation, hundreds of alien ships began to glow. Energy built inside their cannons, bright and powerful. Artificial intelligence systems calculated every possible human move before it could happen. The outcome was perfect. The humans had no chance. The first wave of Virex fire crossed space like a burning wall. Brilliant beams of energy slammed into the front line of the human fleet. Explosions lit the darkness. Human ships shook. Armor cracked. Pieces of metal flew into space. Several ships lost power and drifted away, silent and broken. The galaxy watched. There it is, alien commentators said. Just as expected. The human fleet is collapsing. But something strange happened. The human ships did not scatter. They did not break formation. Damaged ships were pulled back gently by others. Smaller vessels moved forward to take their place. The formation shifted smoothly like a single machine, slow but controlled. Inside the Virex flagship, officers exchanged looks. Why are they not retreating? One asked. The second wave of fire was ordered. This time the Virex used heavier weapons. Energy cannons designed to crush battleships in seconds. Their AI adjusted for every movement the humans made. Again the beam struck. More human ships were hit. More damage. More smoke and fire. But still the human fleet moved forward. Not fast. Not desperate. Just steady. Alien sensors showed something impossible. The human ships were learning. They are changing angles, a Virex technician said. They are adjusting armor positions. The commander frowned. How? Their technology cannot process data that fast. Another officer spoke, uneasy. They are not using AI. That made no sense. Without AI, no fleet could survive modern warfare. Machines were faster than thought. Faster than instinct. Faster than fear. And yet, the humans advanced. On the human flagship, alarms rang softly. Reports came in, damage, losses, pressure. The commander listened without emotion. Continue Phase 1, he said. Across the fleet, a short signal flashed. No words. Just code. Human ships began to act differently. They started firing back. The weapons were simple. Solid projectiles. No energy glow. No warning flash. Just dark shapes launched into space at extreme speed. The Virex laughed again. Primitive weapons, an officer said. Our shields will stop them. The first human rounds hit the Virex shields. Nothing happened. The projectiles vanished against glowing barriers. The Virex confidence returned. See, the commander said. They cannot hurt. Then alarms screamed. A Virex cruiser at the edge of the formation went dark. No explosion. No fire. Just silence. Its shield flickered once, and failed. The ship drifted, dead. What happened? The commander demanded. Sensors showed no energy breach. No overload. No AI failure. The ship was simply broken. Before answers could come, another Virex ship went silent. Then another. Human projectiles continued to fly, hitting shields again and again. Each impact seemed harmless. But something unseen was happening beneath the glowing barriers. Alien confusion spread fast. Our shields are degrading, an officer said. But not from energy. That was impossible. Virex shields were designed to stop beams, plasma, heat, radiation. Everything. Except one thing. Mass. The human weapons were not trying to break the shields in one strike. They were testing them. Studying them. Hitting them again and again at precise points. The shields were perfect against energy. But they were never built to stop old war physics. The Virex commander's voice grew sharp. Change formation. Increase shield output. But the human fleet was already moving. Their slow advance turned into something more dangerous. A closing trap. Human ships spread out, forcing the Virex to adjust. Each adjustment exposed another weak angle. Each correction made the next strike worse. The galaxy watched in silence. This was no longer an execution. This was a lesson. Inside the human flagship, the commander looked at the battle display. Red markers faded as alien ships went dark. He spoke quietly. Phase 1 complete. Across the Virex fleet, fear began to spread. They had underestimated humans. And now it was too late to turn back. The Virex Dominion was no longer laughing. Across their fleet, confusion turned into fear. Ships were failing without warning. Shields that had never fallen before were weakening, not from power loss, but from something the Virex had never planned for. Old human weapons. Inside the Virex flagship, officers spoke over each other. Our AI cannot predict their fire patterns. The shields are failing in small sections. We are losing ships without explosions. The Virex commander clenched his claws. How is this possible? Their technology is centuries old. The answer was simple. It was human. Long before artificial intelligence ruled the galaxy, humans had fought wars with their own minds. They had learned to read chaos, not control it. They had learned to survive without perfect systems. Human ships did not rely on one thinking machine. They relied on thousands of human decisions. Every gun crew watched the battlefield with their own eyes. Every engineer felt the vibration of the ship through their boots. Every captain trusted instinct over calculation. Where alien AI searched for patterns, humans created them, and then broke them. Human weapons continued to strike Virex shields. Not randomly. Not blindly. Each hit was measured. Each impact tested the shield's response. Inside the human flagship, tactical officers marked changes in shield glow, timing, and strength. They shared this information instantly across the fleet, not through AI, but through trained human coordination. No machine could fully predict a human who chose to act differently each time. The Virex tried to adapt. Switch to full energy barrage, the commander ordered. Overwhelm them. The Virex fleet unleashed a massive attack. Beams of light crossed space, burning bright enough to blind sensors. Entire sections of the human formation were struck. Several human ships were destroyed. But the formation did not break. Human ships closed ranks. Damaged vessels were shielded by others. Smaller ships moved into the gaps without orders. They had trained for this. For centuries, humans had believed one truth: technology fails. So they built fleets that could fight even when systems were damaged. Even when power was lost. Even when plans fell apart. Human ships were not elegant. They were stubborn. Then came the moment the galaxy would remember. A Virex battleship, one of the largest ever built, moved forward. Its shields burned bright as a small star. Its main weapon charged, a beam meant to erase the human flagship in one shot. The human commander watched calmly. Now, he said. From the center of the human fleet, a different weapon fired. It did not glow. It did not hum. It did not announce itself. A heavy mass accelerator launched a dense projectile at extreme speed. It struck the same weakened point on the Virex battleship shield that human gunners had been testing for minutes. The shield failed. The projectile passed through and tore into the ship's core. For the first time in living memory, a Virex capital ship exploded on a live galactic broadcast. The shockwave rippled across space. The Galactic Council chambers fell silent. Commentators stopped speaking. Leaders stared at their screens in disbelief. That should not be possible, someone whispered. The Virex fleet hesitated. In war, hesitation is death. Human ships surged forward. Not fast but certain. They fired again and again, striking weak points already mapped by human eyes and minds. Virex ships fell one by one, their perfect systems unable to understand imperfect enemies. The truth spread across the battlefield. Human technology was old because it had survived. Human weapons were simple because they worked. Human fleets were slow because they were built to endure. The Virex commander finally understood. These ships were not forgotten, he said quietly. They were waiting. Inside the human flagship, the commander watched the enemy retreat. He did not smile. Continue, he ordered. The galaxy was no longer laughing at humans. It was afraid. And this war had only just begun. The retreat of the Virex fleet was small, but it was real. For the first time, their perfect formation showed cracks. Ships pulled back to protect damaged vessels. Command signals overlapped. Artificial intelligence systems argued with each other, trying to correct a battle that no longer followed logic. The humans noticed. They always did. Inside the human flagship, the main display showed the enemy's movement. Red symbols shifted, not with confidence but with caution. The human commander studied it for a long moment. Phase 2, he said calmly. Across the old human fleet, sealed compartments opened for the first time in decades. Systems that had been silent woke up. Not new technology, but hidden technology. The human ships changed. Armor plates moved, sliding apart to reveal reinforced weapon ports. Long-unused cannons extended from deep within the hulls. Power that had been carefully stored flowed through old but trusted systems. Alien sensors lit up in confusion. Their energy output is increasing, a Virex officer said. But the design, it makes no sense. Human ships accelerated. Not suddenly. Not wildly. But faster than before. Their movement was still rough, still heavy, but now it was purposeful, like a giant finally standing up. The Virex commander felt unease for the first time. "Focus fire on their center," he ordered. "Destroy the command ship." The Virex fleet obeyed. Dozens of ships turned toward the human flagship. Energy weapons charged together, forming a blinding wall of light. The attack struck. Human shields, simple, layered, and physical, absorbed the impact. Energy washed over thick armor and dispersed into space. Hull temperatures rose. Alarms sounded. The flagship shook. But it did not break. Engineers rerouted power manually. Crew members sealed damaged sections by hand. Fire was fought with tools, not algorithms. The ship endured. Then the humans answered. From the front line, human ships fired coordinated volleys. Massed drivers thundered. Kinetic rounds tore through space. Each shot was aimed, not by AI prediction, but by experienced gunners reading movement and intent. Virex ships tried to dodge. They failed. Their AI expected patterns. Humans refused to give them. One Virex cruiser lost its engines. Another split apart as internal systems failed under repeated physical impacts. A third collided with a friendly ship while trying to adjust formation too quickly. Chaos spread. The human fleet pressed forward. Old warships moved past wreckage without slowing. They did not celebrate. They did not chase fleeing enemies. They advanced. The Virex commander raised his voice. "Deploy the suppression field. Lock their movement." A massive device activated in the center of the Virex formation. Space itself seemed to bend. Human ships felt their engines resist, as if pushing through thick water. For a moment the advance slowed. The Virex officers relaxed. Then something unexpected happened. Human ships adjusted. Instead of fighting the field with power, they changed direction. Smaller ships cut wide arcs. Larger ships altered thrust angles. Some even shut down engines briefly, drifting through the field using momentum alone. They adapted. Not by force. By understanding. The suppression field weakened as its calculations failed. Human ships broke through. Inside the human flagship, the commander watched the enemy line collapse. "Now," he said. From several human ships, small objects launched into space. Not missiles. Not drones. Boarding pods. They struck Virex vessels at weak points created by earlier damage. Human soldiers breached hulls with simple tools and overwhelming precision. Virex AI could not respond fast enough to physical presence. Inside their own ships, the Virex faced an enemy they could not calculate. Humans. Reports flooded the Virex bridge. "We are losing internal control. Our AI cores are being isolated. Boarding teams are advancing." The commander's voice dropped. "Withdraw," he ordered. "Full retreat." But retreat requires order. An order was gone. The human fleet did not chase fleeing ships. They did not need to. They had made their point. The battlefield was filled with broken Virex vessels, drifting silent and powerless. The old human fleet slowed and held position. Across the galaxy no one spoke. This was no longer a misunderstanding. This was not luck. The humans had stopped holding back. And the galaxy was finally seeing what they truly were. The battlefield fell quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy silence that comes after disaster. Wrecked Virex ships drifted through space, some without power, others torn open by kinetic fire and boarding actions. Emergency lights flickered inside broken hulls. Distress signals echoed in every direction. Across the galaxy, billions of eyes were watching. The Galactic News Network stopped its commentary. There were no jokes now. No confident predictions. Only silent screens showing the old human fleet holding its position. Damaged, scarred, but unbroken. Then the Virex made one last decision. From deep within their formation, a massive ship moved forward. Larger than anything else on the field. Its surface was smooth and dark, covered in glowing symbols. This was the Virex Ascendant, a command dreadnought and the heart of their power. Alien leaders watching from their worlds leaned closer to their screens. "That is their final weapon," one whispered. "If it fires, nothing survives." The Ascendant began to charge. Space around it distorted. Energy gathered, brighter than any star. The weapon was designed to erase entire fleets in a single strike. It did not target ships, it targeted space itself. The human fleet did not retreat. Human ships adjusted formation, spreading out slightly, creating depth. Damaged vessels moved behind stronger ones. Engineers worked fast, sealing hulls, rerouting power, replacing broken systems with manual controls. Inside the human flagship, the commander watched the rising energy levels. Time? an officer said quietly. We have minutes at best. The commander nodded. Begin adaptive response, he ordered. Across the fleet, human ships activated systems that had never been used in combat. Not shields. Not weapons. Learning arrays. Every sensor, every camera, every crew report fed into shared human networks. Crews spoke, observed, argued, adjusted. Data moved not just through machines but through people. They studied the weapon as it charged. The Ascendant fired. A wave of destructive force rushed forward, tearing through space. The front line of the human fleet was struck. Several ships vanished instantly. Others were thrown back, armor peeled away, systems destroyed. For a moment, it looked like the Virex had finally won. Then the wave weakened. It did not fail. It faded. The human formation bent, but did not break. Human ships responded. Not with panic. With precision. Mass drivers fired in focused patterns, striking the Ascendant's outer layers again and again. The goal was not destruction. It was disruption. Human gunners aimed at energy flow channels, cooling vents, structural joints. Engineers adjusted firing angles in real time based on visual feedback and human judgment. The Ascendant's weapon faltered. Energy surged unevenly. Alarms exploded across the Virex command ship. Containment failure. Power imbalance. We cannot stabilize. The human commander spoke calmly. Concentrate fire. The old human fleet obeyed. Thousands of kinetic rounds struck the same weakened sections. Armor cracked. Internal systems collapsed. The Ascendant's massive shield flickered, then went dark. The dreadnought began to break apart. On galactic broadcasts, the image froze for a moment, as if the galaxy itself could not believe what it was seeing. Then the Virex Ascendant exploded. The shockwave rolled across the battlefield, pushing wreckage and silence in all directions. Across the galaxy, fear replaced disbelief. The Virex could fall. Anyone could. The remaining Virex ships powered down their weapons. A signal was set. White light. A universal sign of surrender. Inside the human flagship, officers waited. The commander closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. Cease fire, he said. Human weapons went silent. The battle was over. The message from the Virex came through, broken and weak. We request ceasefire, the Virex leader said. We acknowledge defeat. The human commander did not respond immediately. Across the galaxy, leaders held their breath. Finally he spoke. This ends now, he said. Stand down. The old human fleet remained in place, quiet and watchful. The galaxy had seen enough. Humans were not relics. They were survivors. And fear had found a new name. The battlefield was silent. Not a single weapon fired. Not a single engine burned hard. The broken remains of the Virex fleet drifted slowly, surrounded by the steady presence of the old human ships. For the first time since the war began, no one was trying to calculate the next move. The Virex Dominion had surrendered. Across the galaxy, emergency councils were called. Leaders who had never feared war now felt it in their bones. If the strongest empire could fall to a fleet the galaxy had mocked, then every assumption was wrong. Inside the human flagship, the commander stood before the main communication console. Open all channels, he said. The signal spread instantly, into council chambers, command bridges, private homes, and distant colonies. Every species heard the same voice at the same time. Come. Steady. Human. This is a message from humanity, the commander began. He did not threaten. He did not boast. We did not come here to conquer, he said. We did not come for territory or tribute or control. The camera shifted, showing the old human fleet behind him, scarred ships, patched armor, visible damage. These ships are old, he continued. You laughed at them. You called them museums. Pause. They are old because they survived. Across the galaxy no one spoke. The commander's voice remained even. We built new technology once. It failed us. It failed others. Machines are powerful but they break. Systems fall. Perfect plans collapse. He raised his hand slightly. So we kept what worked. Human engineers were shown on screen, hands dirty, faces tired, working inside damaged ships. Soldiers helped each other in narrow corridors. Medics treated wounded crew members without machines making choices for them. We kept human judgment, the commander said. We kept human choice. The message shifted to the Virex wreckage floating in space. You trusted intelligence without wisdom, he said. You trusted power without understanding. The Virex leader listened in silence from a damaged bridge. the commander's tone did not harden. "We do not hate you," he said. "But we will not disappear quietly." A long silence followed. Then he spoke words that would be remembered for generations. "We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the fastest. We are not the most advanced." Another pause. "But we adapt." Across the galaxy, analysts stopped writing. Historians stopped recording. They simply listened. "When you fight us," the commander continued, "you fight beings who learn while bleeding, who think while failing, and who stand even when they are afraid." The signal shifted back to the human fleet. "These ships were not hidden because we were ashamed," he said. "They were waiting." The commander looked directly into the camera. "This war is over," he said. "But remember this moment." Then he ended with a final warning, quiet but absolute. "Never mistake silence for weakness." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy there was no celebration. Only understanding. The humans had not claimed victory. They had claimed respect. And that was far more frightening. The old human fleet held position for a moment longer, then slowly turned away from the battlefield. Behind them the galaxy began to change. Because now everyone knew the truth. Humanity had never left the war. It had simply been watching. And learning. The war ended without another shot. The Virex Dominion withdrew what remained of its fleet, damaged and humbled. No pursuit followed. The old human ships did not chase glory. They returned to formation and moved back toward human space at the same steady pace they had always used. Across the galaxy, silence followed them. In the weeks that came after, the Galactic Council called an emergency summit. For the first time in recorded history, humans were not invited as observers, historians, or forgotten members. They were invited as equals. The council chamber was filled with beings of every shape and size. Some wore advanced armor. Others were surrounded by floating machines and artificial minds. But all of them watched the human delegation carefully. Fear was still there. But now it was mixed with respect. The human representatives did not arrive with threats. They did not bring fleets into orbit. They came with records, battle footage, damage reports, and history older than most civilizations in the room. They spoke simply. They explained how humanity had survived its own near extinction. How machines once promised safety but instead brought chaos. How humans learned to keep technology as a tool, not a master. "We are not against progress," one human envoy said. "But progress without limits destroys itself." Some alien leaders resisted. "The Virex attacked first," one argued. "Others may not be so careless." The human response was calm. "Carelessness is not the problem," the envoy replied. "Arrogance is." That word echoed through the chamber. Outside the council, the galaxy was changing. Military academies across alien worlds rewrote their textbooks. Old human battles were studied again, not as failures but as lessons. Ship designers began adding manual systems back into their designs. Some even removed full AI control, fearing what humans had proven. Among civilians, stories spread. They fought with old ships. They learned during battle. They adapted faster than machines. The old human fleet became a legend. Not because it was powerful, but because it refused to die. Near human space, the fleet returned to its quiet orbit. Engineers repaired damaged hulls. Crews rested. New recruits walked the same corridors once mocked by the galaxy. A young officer looked at the ships with awe. "Why not build new ones?" he asked an older captain. The captain smiled slightly. "We will," he said. "But we will never forget these." Far away on a recovering Virex world, their leaders faced a hard truth. Their AI systems were restricted. Their fleets redesigned. Their doctrine changed. They had learned the cost of underestimating humans. Back on Earth, the battle was not celebrated with parades. There were no great speeches. Names of the fallen were carved quietly into stone. Humanity remembered the price. In the final broadcast of the war, a single line was played across galactic networks. "They mocked the old human fleet, until it fired." That sentence became history. And a warning. Because now, every species understood something they had forgotten. In a galaxy ruled by machines, logic, and perfect systems, the most dangerous force was still a thinking, adapting, stubborn human mind. Humanity did not rule the galaxy. It did not need to. It had earned something far more powerful. A place among the stars. And this time, no one was laughing.